Hello guys, this is Korah here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a very interesting video for you guys. Now it's also a video based on a question that I've been receiving a lot during my live streams. And it's a very good question, to be honest. The question is, how do you know in a specific situation like when you should push and when you should hold? You know, holding is the opposite of pushing, it's like defending. Pushing is, you know, being offensive and just pushing forward, right? So how do you know when you should, you know, be aggressive and when you should be passive? And that's a very good question, and I think every single Blitz player has to ask himself like this question at some point during the game, you know, whatever game you're in, whether it's a tournament game or just a normal pub game. You know, it's something that is a very essential part of playing Blitz. And I think on my channel I don't usually like cover like stuff that's like super generalized that can be applied to every situation. Usually I'm always making a Korah guide video on like a specific tank or something like that, or just, you know, something very specific. But in this video I want to kind of go over something that's super general that can be applied to every possible situation, no matter what tank you are in, can also be applied. And I think it will definitely help out, especially like the newer players in the game, as well as some of the ones who are maybe a bit more experienced. Maybe there's a couple things you can learn from what I have to say here. So hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. So how you guys know, you know, the simplest way to put it is, first of all, to be able to determine whether you want to push or whether you want to hold, there's a couple things you need to do first. The first, you need to understand the map enough to be able to divide it into pieces. Now, what do you mean by pieces? I mean, every single map, like 99% of the maps in Blitz, have a very distinct medium side and a very distinct heavy side. Now, the reason it's distinct is because usually the medium side has, you know, like it's kind of divided between like there's like some kind of like physical barrier that makes it where, like, you know, like either it's like a river or like a hill or like a mountain, something like that kind of like, or buildings or whatever, that cut the map into a couple pieces. So there's a very distinct, like, it's kind of separated, you know. The medium side cannot directly shoot the heavy side. There's always something, you know, blocking it in the way there, which is, you know, that's basically what determines whether the medium side or the heavy side is. So let me pull up Strat Sketch real quick just to kind of show you guys, like, from a third, you know, like a bird's eye view of what that essentially looks like. I'll just use like a random map as an example. We'll go ahead and open that up, and the first map that pops up is Alpenstat. Now let's go ahead and take it. Alpenstat is a good example for this, actually. Now Alpenstat has a very distinct medium side and a very distinct heavy side. I'm going to circle them in green and blue. So the green side will be the medium side. Now this entire area up until like the B cap, this is considered the medium side of the map. Now this is just where the medium spawn, and the reason why it's very like isolated from the heavy side, which the heavy side is going to be the red side here. I'm going to quickly draw this in the big red circle. This is the heavy side. Now the reason it's isolated is because if you take a look here, you see like where I'm pinging these buildings here. These buildings here prevent the medium side from being able to shoot into the heavy side. So that's where the distinction happens. This is where, like, you know, like the division of the map really occurs. And that's kind of the first step to figure out whether you should push or hold. Now, why do I say this? Very simple. Because I'm going to give you guys an example. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. And let's say your team is positioned somewhere like this. I'm going to draw the team in green on the green side. Let's say you have something like, I don't know. You have two tanks here, tank here, and then the rest of your team, you have two here and two here, or like one here. Yeah. So when you go back into the way I divided a map, you can say, okay, I have 4 people going on heavy side. I have 3 people on the medium side, right? Now, this is very important to make this distinction. Figure out how many tanks you have on either side of the map. And then from there, based on this numbers, you want to do the exact same thing for the enemy tanks. So whenever the enemy tanks start getting spotted, let's say you have like a, you know, like a red tank here, something like this, and let's say you have like, I don't know, 5 tanks on the heavy side. So in this situation, you have, if we take a look at the circles again, you have, like, on the medium side of the map, you have a 3 versus 2. Like your team, let's say your team is the green team, you have 3 tanks on the medium side, and the enemy team has 2 tanks on the medium side. So you have an overmatch on the medium side. That overmatch that you have here is going to, like, if you're on the medium side, you are going to want to push this, because you have to, like, Blitz is a game of trades, right? If you're losing one part of the map, it means you should be winning the other part of the map. That's how, you know, like the game works, essentially. This is very basic fundamentals. It works for everything, whether it's a pub game or a tournament game, you know. And then if you're on the heavy side here, on the green side, you are overmatched by these 5 tanks. So obviously, it's not a good idea for you to be aggressive. You should not be aggressive versus 5 people when you have a numerical disadvantage. So what do you do in a disadvantage? You hold. You try to buy time. You try to waste as much time as possible if possible, you can even try to escape. Now, how do you escape? You like back up like this. This guy can like run away completely, and this guy can try to back up like this. At the end of the day, these 3 tanks here need to be aggressive to kill these 2, and these 4 need to try to waste as much time as possible until these 3 are done winning the medium side of the map, so that once they're done winning the medium side, they can start flanking from behind. That's kind of how, just in general, like how it works. So first step is to divide the map into 2 pieces. Once you have that kind of distinction made, then you can go ahead and be like, okay, where do I have the advantage? Where do I have the disadvantage? And based on the numbers game, you know, then you make a decision on when you should be aggressive, when you should be passive, right? That's as simplest possible way I can give it to you. And I have a couple replays to kind of, you know, like give you more examples and stuff like that, which I'll be showing later. But one small thing I do want to go over is the class of the tank that you're in. Now, remember, there's light tanks, there's medium tanks, there's heavy tanks, and there's TDs. There's 4 different classes in Blitz. Now, each class has a different role, and in this like situation where we're being aggressive or passive, the roles really make a big difference. Now, light tanks, in general, you don't want to be the one pushing in first. Like, let's say I'm on the medium side. Imagine this tank is a heavy tank, and let's say these 2 are mediums tanks and something like that, right? Let's say it's like a medium here. These are 2 mediums, and we have 1 heavy side tank on the med side, right? The most ideal situation is that the heavy tank should be the one that goes in first, takes the first couple of shots, buys the time and the space so that the medium tanks can kind of cross like somewhere like here without getting shot too far, like too hard, because medium tanks are a lot more vulnerable. They have more mobility, they have more DPM, but they don't have as much armor and they don't have as much HP. So heavy tanks want to be the ones that go first, right? It's the same thing kind of for TDs. In general, you don't want tank destroyers to be the ones leading the push. A turretless tank destroyer is very vulnerable. It gets circled very easily. You don't want that tank to be on the front line. You want that tank to be following up the push. So my point, what I'm trying to say here is that at some point, yes, every tank needs to push, but the order in which you're pushing does kind of matter. You don't really want a light tank to go in front of a heavy tank. That's a waste of a light tank. You're losing so much HP in a light tank when a heavy tank that's like the job of the heavy tank is to take the hits so that the light tank can cross, you know? Same thing with TDs and mediums as well, vice versa. So in general, the first tanks that should push in should be the ones with the most armor, the ones with the most hit points. That's what you want to be pushing in first if you need to be playing passive, or aggressive, I mean, sorry. Now, let's switch the script and say we are on the other side here. So let's pretend like we are somewhere here. And let's say, like, you know, something like, okay, like this tank here for some reason is like a light tank or something. And these are like heavies or something, whatever, right? Now, playing passive kind of differs based on heavies and lights and TDs and vice versa. Now, if you're a TD and you need to figure out that, okay, I have a disadvantage here, I need to play passive. TDs, typically, you want to be like behind the bush somewhere, abusing the camo and just playing like a rear guard action. You want to be like kind of slowing down the enemy team, trying to prevent them from peeking you like for free, and just trading with your like the tanks that are peeking, and trying as best as you can to protect the heavies. Because remember, heavies are slower, right? So heavies are usually not going to be able to pull back as quick. TDs are also slow, but TDs are usually supposed to be in the second line anyways. You're not really supposed to play TD front line no matter what. So usually you'll find yourself somewhere back here, and then that's where you kind of like kick in a little bit, right? Now, let's say you're a light tank. Let's say this tank here is a light tank, and again, you're in this disadvantage. So obviously, as a light tank, your job should be to spot, first of all, figure out if you're in a disadvantage or not. Once you get the information that what you are in disadvantage, then light tank has the mobility to escape. You want to escape all together as a light tank, or a medium tank as well. Anything with good mobility, you want to use that to escape. Again, the only tanks that should be kind of like losing HP and dying over time would be the heavy tanks who cannot escape. Imagine you're like a mouse, an E100, these really slow heavy tanks that once they figure out you can't really run away in an E100. The enemy will always catch up to you, right? So in this situation, the heavies just need to waste time and back up slowly and try to eliminate the angles. Eliminate the angles in which you're getting shot from so that you buy as much time as possible. And if you have competent medium and light tank players, they will be the ones to flank her behind and clear up the other side of the map faster. That's what you want to do. And also, same thing with this light tank. When I say you want to escape, I'm not saying you should escape and do nothing. No, you should escape and try to join up with the rest of your team on the medium side to help them win the medium side even faster. That's what you want to do. It's a game of trades, right? Whichever team trades faster than the other team usually ends up winning, despite whether it's a good trade or a bad trade. Again, you could easily, like, let's say, imagine in this situation where in a 4 versus 5, this tank dies instantly. It's an instant kill. That looks really bad on paper, but if you think about it, if every other tank manages to escape and you only lose one tank here, if the rest of your tanks here are able to kill the enemy's 2 tanks, it's a 2-for-1 trade. It's actually a positive trade. So it's not always about the time in which it takes to actually get the trade or the first kill. It's about the overall like sum of the kills that you're getting versus the kills that you're losing, like the the people that you're losing on your team. That's usually how you win the game, and whichever team has the better trades is usually the one that wins the game. So that's kind of like my way of explaining on a strat sketch. I know a lot of you guys aren't super strat sketch people, so it's all good. That's kind of, again, just a term. Like, that's kind of my easiest way of explaining it. But I like replays, and I'm sure you guys like replays too. So I will be starting to show you guys some replays, and hope you guys enjoy. And again, if you guys enjoy this content, make sure you guys smash the like button. We really appreciate that. And make sure you guys subscribe if not already subscribed. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright guys, so here we are on our very first replay, and it's going to be featuring the KPZ-50T. This is a medium tank, and we are playing on the map Hellas. So Hellas, as I said, just like the example I gave you in Alpenstat, there's a very distinct medium side and a very distinct heavy side. The heavy side is the side to my left, which is where like the ramps are, basically completely isolated from the medium side, whereas the medium side, it's like, completely kind of a lot more open, if that makes sense. But both sides are completely distinct, and so in the situation here, you can clearly see in the beginning of the game, I have 3 people going medium side, and 2 heavies going towards the encounter cap, which is closer to the medium side. So essentially, in total, I have around 5 tanks going medium side, and for now, that's basically the majority of my team. Now, pay attention on the minimap right there. 1 tank from the enemy team got spotted on the heavy side. He's going down the ramps. That's 60 TP on the far left there. You can see him. That is 1 tank already said, like that we are confirmed that he's on the heavy side. That is going to give me the confidence to want to start pushing up, because I know essentially 6 of my tanks are on the medium side, and only 1 tank of my my 183 is back there. Now, in a very quick short second here, you see that the second tank got spotted. Again, the BZ. That's the second heavy getting spotted. So right now, I am immediately trying to be aggressive because I want to take as much space as I can. I want to trade out this grill. I want to, because I have a feeling, like, I'm going to be able to predict this, but I'm pretty sure the TD in my spawn is going to eventually die to the heavies that are pushing him. It's pretty obvious. And like right there, you can see he died. He just instantly died because he was isolated. So this is where the trades start happening. This is a trading game. Now this grill realized he's in a losing situation, so he tries to escape. It's actually a good play on his part. Just the only thing is he should have escaped a little bit earlier. That's the only thing I could say for his part. But overall, he's done very well. Now this situation, the enemy team is actually trading better than we are. Now, we've lost 2 tanks. The enemy team has only lost 1 tank. Now, we have to make this up somehow, and that's why my Super Conqueror here, which is going to be the tank in front of me, is pushing the BZ. It's a good play on his part. It needs to be done. It's a trade. We have to trade, remember? Like how I've said, if you're losing one side of the map, you always need to make sure you win the other side. At least try to trade it. And in this situation here, the 60 TP comes back to help the Super Conk. So now the Super Conk's not really in an advantage situation. Neither am I, to be honest. So I can't really push in with the Super Conk, but he's done enough distraction that I can farm off of him and try to, like, we can still win this 2 versus 2. It's still a 2v2, so it's an equal fight, but we have the advantage in this equal fight, so there's no reason for the Super Conk to play passive, and he should be playing aggressive. This is very good on the part of the Super Conk. Now, in this situation, look at the enemy team here. Enemy team is realizing that they're losing the heavy side of the map here. So what did their mediums do? They start pushing the med side. Very good play on the medium side. Like this game is a perfect example of how it's a balance between pushing and holding. Again, their heavies are trying to hold, try to buy as much time as possible, and their mediums are the ones trying to push. Same with me. Here in this situation, I'm not pushing anymore. Here I'm trying to hold because there's 3 versus 1 right now. I can't push the med side, and if I give up this position that I'm in right now, my team's going to be kind of in trouble because then we're going to lose the high ground on the map. So what I'm going to do here, I'm in a disadvantage. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to try to eliminate the angle in which I'm at a disadvantage from. I'm going to try to make it as close as I can to a 1v1. And that's what I'm doing with this rock in front of me here. I'm trying to avoid the 263 while shooting the TVP, trying to get the TVP kill as much as I can. Right here, we killed the TVP, and there is the 1v1 situation I'm looking for now. Now we turned a 2v1 into a 1v1. Now this is perfect. Now I can start being aggressive because I have the 1v1 advantage versus this 263. So as you can see, it's just a game of trades back and forth. Both teams in this situation played it pretty well. And that's why I wanted to use this replay as a perfect example of what you should be doing to try to trade. Again, we were losing the heavy side of the map, so we instantly pushed the medium side of the map. And as we pushed the medium side, we started pushing into the heavy side. The enemy team realized they're losing the heavy side, so then they started pushing the medium side. That's how every single game in Blitz should work under ideal circumstances. Now, obviously, you can't really control what kind of teammates you get, so sometimes, people are not going to understand this logic. But the point of this video is to try to teach these people how to understand the logic, as well as, people who kind of understand it to kind of feel a bit more confident about using this logic in general. So that is the end of the first game here. As you can see, the game was actually a pretty good mastery for me. We did 6.7k damage there, so fantastic game on my part. But what I wanted to highlight the most here was just like the way that each team is moving. Again, Like, as I said, anytime you're losing one part of the map, you're going to have an advantage on the other side. You know, usually that's how it should go. And even if you don't have the advantage, you have to look for an advantage, because if you just sit in one spot for too long, the enemy will end up surrounding you altogether, and then you'll lose your chance to get a trade, right? So that's the point of this video. Now we're going to move on to the very next replay in just a second here. And now you can see we have the 263 on Ghost Factory. Again, Ghost Factory, like I said, every map has a very distinct medium side and a very distinct heavy side. The heavy side on Ghost Factory is going to be the factory itself. It's everything in the factory, the CB and I think the D cap. Yeah, those 3 caps are the heavy side. The A cap is going to be the medium side. So real quick, let's take some math here and let's do some counting here. Again, you should always do this at the beginning of every single game, right? That's ideal. You can see there's 4 of us going medium side, 3 of us going heavy side. Okay, now let's keep this in mind. I'm not going to be too aggressive until I can see what kind of information we're getting for the enemy team. We need to see whether we have enough to push or whether we have to hold and retreat, right? So that's how we're going to approach every single game here in this kind of like way. So we're going to sit here. Again, you can see I'm kind of playing this TD Bush a little bit passive. I don't want to overextend because I'm not sure whether I should be passive or aggressive. Now we spot 2 of them already, so now I kind of get the feeling, okay, there's the 2 of them, they're kind of playing a little bit passive. One of them, by the way, right there, got spotted on the heavy side. And the second one, 2 of them got spotted on the heavy side. Now, remember what I said, we have 4 people on the med side. So if 2 of them are on the heavy side, I am pretty confident that the enemy team is not stacked on the medium side, because if they were stacked on the medium side, why would this like tank be playing so passive? Like, look at this WZ here. He's like hiding behind a rock. He's not pushing up on me. He's literally playing defensive. So that kind of body language, or tank language, I guess, if you think about it, gives me the idea that, okay, they're not actually stacked here, so we can take advantage of them. We can start being a little bit more aggressive. Now, right there, as you can see, 3 tanks got spotted. So we know at the very, best case scenario, it is a 3v3 on the heavy side, and it's a 4v4 on the medium side. It's an equal fight. But just because it's an equal fight, we actually have the advantage in terms of positions, because that WZ bled a lot, and because the enemy team plays super passive. So we can take advantage of their bad positioning here and start being aggressive. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be super, super aggressive here, get the kill in the bat chat, very nice kill there, and we're going to continue pushing for the 183 and the WZ. That's how you want to be playing it. Again, just because it's an equal fight, 4 versus 4, does not mean you should treat it as an equal fight, because it's not. One of their tanks is almost dead. It's basically 3 versus 4 actually, so we should be aggressive in this situation. That's what I'm going to be doing here. Again, I am going in first, by the way. Now, like I said, TDs are ideally not the ones going first, but if you take a look at the lineup behind me, look at the tanks that are behind me. All of them are medium tanks. So what does that mean? I mentioned this earlier, but it is the job of the tank that's the most armored tank to be the one that goes first, and that's me. I'm the 263. The 263 is the best armored tank out of the 4 tanks that are on the med side right now, so that's why I went in first. That's my job as a tank to go in first. So that's kind of why I did what I did. If I had a heavy tank with me, ideally the heavy tank should be the one to go first and not the TD. But in this situation, because the TD is a lot more armored than a medium tank, that's the situation. That's why I went in first. Now, as you can see, my team here in the factory is actually doing a pretty good job. I like how they're playing. They were in a 4 versus 3, so they're at a disadvantage. But if you pay attention, they wasted enough time to the point where we were able to clean up the medium side, and we came back to be able to farm them as they're cleaning up the rest of our heavies, the ones that were isolated, right? So now, this game is actually, we're in an advantage in this game because we were able to come back faster than they were able to come to us. So it's not like we got flanked by them after they killed the heavies, it's us flanking them after they killed our heavies. So we are in the the better situation here. Now this is serious as well. I think he was with them, by the way. He ended up escaping as well, which is a good play on his part. Again, like I said, whenever you're at a disadvantage, you want to try to escape if possible. If it's not possible to escape, you want to waste as much time as absolutely possible so that your team can end up, trading you out essentially, right? And that's what my team did in this situation, and that's why we're going to win this game here. Again, it seems like a pretty easy win, but this could have been a very hard win if my 263 didn't escape. Imagine my 263 died, right? We would be in a 2 versus 2 right now, essentially, or like it'd be a close game still. It's not 100% one game. The 263 escaping the way he did there, that was a good play on his part, and that's again goes back to what I was saying about like how you should be playing Blitz. Again, these are very fundamental things that no matter what tank you're in, what situation you're in, it will always apply. And I just want to try to highlight this as much as I could, at least, so that you guys have a better idea of just how to kind of think about the way the game should be played. Obviously, again, this is pretty like second nature to me as a tournament player, but I think a lot of people who are playing pubs don't really think about it in that exact way, and hopefully this video can kind of help you guys in that out. So as of right now, I've given you 2 examples of situations where I needed to push in. then very next game here is going to be a situation where I'm actually in a disadvantage, and I'm going to try to hold. And I'm going to show you guys how to best like hold, essentially based on, you know, the numbers that you have. So very next game here is going to be on Mine Ruins. I am actually playing the E6, and in this situation, we're going to do a little bit of counting before the game begins here. So let's go ahead, and we're going to wait till the game loads in, and then we'll see where each of our teammates is going. So I am going to go straight to the med side here. That's kind of my preferred position to go in an E6. Again, E6 is a pretty fast tank, so you want to kind of abuse the mobility and go toward the med side. That's what we're trying to do here. So that's where I'm going to be going. Now, real quick, we can see one of our mediums is actually going med side right away, and then you can see the rest of my heavies are kind of behind me. Some of them are going what possibly looks like med side. The others are kind of AFK and spawn. I can't really tell exactly where they're going. Now, this is going to be the reason why I end up being in a disadvantage, because I don't really know where they're going. I kind of assume they might come behind me, but you can see right there, one of them started turning to my left, one of them started turning to my right. So now we are kind of in a slight disadvantage. We have one heavy going, you know, town. I believe we have a light tank that's just AFK, and we have another tank going town as well later. Anyways, regardless of that, right now we're in a pretty equal fight. Now, whether you think about numbers or not, sometimes it's not always about numbers, it's about positions. And if you take a look at the enemy team here, the enemy team has our side of the bridge. You see that, like the far right there, they have two tanks that managed to cross into our bridge, and now you can see, oh crap, there is a mouse that's cross-firing us as well, so we can't even push forward. We can't really back up because these bridge tanks are going to bleed the crap out of us as we back up. And so now I'm kind of forced into a difficult situation. I'm kind of cross-fired between three different angles, and I'm in a situation where you have a numbers disadvantage, so I can't really push anywhere. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to actually try to do what I explained to you earlier. I'm going to try to eliminate as many angles as I can and only get shot by one angle possible, which is a WZ here. I'm going to play this tank in a situation where I'm just trading with the WZ. I do not want to get shot by the E4. I don't want to get shot by the mouse. I don't want to get shot by anybody other than this tank in front of me, which at this point I am just delaying. I'm just buying as much time for my team to, like, you know, trade me essentially. Because in this situation, we're in a very difficult, like, I can't escape out of this, man. Like, I'm in my head right now, I'm thinking, okay, I am essentially going to die at some point, but I want to make it as time costly as possible, and that's what we're going to do here. Again, I'm just chilling behind this. I'm making sure that nobody is shooting me except that WZ. Now here, the WZ becomes a one-shot, by the way. He ends up dying. That is the only reason I took that peek with the T100. I'm trying to buy a little bit more space for me, because I know if I sit here the whole time, it's just, I'm kind of useless. So I'm trying to just buy a little bit more space. We do bait the T100 to peek again here, and as you can see, we've actually done pretty positive trades so far. Despite being at a disadvantage, we were able to kind of buy as much time as we could until our heavies, as you can see, we have three heavies, or three people on the heavy side there. They cleaned up the heavy side, and now we finally have a little bit of breathing room to be able to escape and see if we can kind of like take a little bit more map control there. So this game, it's going to be a pretty like high damage game for me, but the point of this game isn't really the fact that I'm just farming damage. It's more about how I'm eliminating the angles. Again, I made sure to only get shot by one tank and one tank only, despite being in a situation where if I backed up a little too far, or if I went a little too far forward, I could have been shot by their entire team. They had their whole team ready to shoot me. Now, we get a little unlucky with the low roll there, but we do get the round to actually kill this guy, and as you can see, again, I've just kind of finessed my way through like the enemy team. We were in a big disadvantage, and we end up winning, and we don't even die, and we do pretty high damage. And so this game is a very good example of what you should be doing when you're a heavy tank in a disadvantage. If you're a heavy tank in a situation that can't really escape, or if escaping is going to get you like completely nuked, then in this situation, just try to sit where you are. Try to eliminate the angles, buy as much time for your team as possible, and that's how you know when you should hold and when you should push, based on the numbers advantage and the positional advantage of whichever team you're on. So in this situation, my team had the disadvantage, so that's why I played passive. I did not push in, right? I only started pushing in once we had the advantage, which was near the end of the game when we finally killed that WZ, as well as the IS-7 that was beside him, right? So that's kind of my guide for when to know how to push and when to know how to hold. It's a question I got a lot of my live streams, and I really been wanting to make a video like this for a while to kind of answer it for you guys, because it's a very good question. I think it's honestly something that every player should just kind of know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you smash the like button. Really appreciate that, and make sure you guys subscribe as well if you're not already subscribed. Without further ado, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.